Okay, this is Mr. Wyrick, and I'm going to try to walk you through the notes for the 30th. I will be out at a tennis meet, but these are notes that I made, so I should be pretty familiar with them, able to do these. So first one, what is surface area? Surface area is when you find the area of each face of a 3D object. You've probably done this, and you've probably done this using a net. So I have on there a Rubik's Cube. So the surface area, all those outside squares have to be painted. And you can see when you're doing surface area as opposed to volume, sometimes some of those little cubes count like 3 times because you have to paint 3 sides of them. But then again, you know, the middle one, it only counts once. And then I have a net next to it, all spread out with the different colors. So you can kind of get an idea of like how much you would have to do with that net. On the next page, I was looking for some good formulas for area, and the best graphic that I found was in Spanish. So, sorry, you can tell it's triangle, quadrilaterals, and regular polygons if you don't Google Translate well. Those formulas will help you. Don't forget, that's a rhombus down there in the purple. And it's, you take the larger diagonal times the smaller diagonal and divide by 2. The square there in orange is the side square. Oh, breathe. Let's work our way through this. The trapezoid that's there in the pink is one that you may struggle with a little bit more because we have not done as much with trapezoids. And you have to average together those 2 parallel sides. And they're also called bases. So everything is a base here in geometry. So you average together those 2 bases and then multiply it by the perpendicular height of that trapezoid. Down at the bottom, the regular polygons, that is the perimeter times the apothem, and then you divide by 2. Or the formula that we have used is 1/2 times the apothem times the perimeter. Same thing. On the next one, special surface area formulas. If you have a cube, you can just square the side and multiply that by 6. Surface area of a cylinder, it's 2 times pi times radius times the radius plus the height. And surface area of a cone is pi times the radius times L. And it's usually like a stylized cursive L. And that L is the slant height. This is the only time that we use the slant height is when you're doing surface area of a cone or if you're doing the lateral surface area of a cone. So then you also have to add the 2 pi r, the surface of the circle. Most surface areas you can find pretty easily by breaking the surface into just the separate shapes. There's a couple of questions on the quiz where it's like, hey, they're building this cake and this part lays on this part. I mean, you can't really go with just a formula for that. You have to look and see what would be those outside edges and what do we need to do to try to cover those. The lateral surface area is something that sometimes is difficult to understand. If you have a lateral surface area, it's like a label, okay? So if you look at this really old Coke can, this Campbell's tomato soup can, where those labels are, that would be the lateral surface area. We ignore the circles on the top and bottom. If you're doing a cone, you ignore the circle at the bottom, and it's just that conical part. So again, you get to use the slant height. If you're doing a cube, it would be you ignore the top and bottom, and you're doing the sides all the way around. Same thing with any other kind of prism. You're ignoring the top and bottom. You're just doing what would wrap around like a label on something like that. On the lateral surface area, you can see I have a cylinder on this next one and then the net of that cylinder. If you look at that rectangle that's there in the light blue, you can see it both ways as the wrap around and then as it would be there. And this is a pyramid and this is a net of a pyramid. So you imagine folding those yellow sides up. That orange side would be the bottom, so it's not included in the lateral surface area, just those yellow sides. So again, if you're working your way through this set of notes, if you're working your way through this quiz, I mean, use one of the attempts, use two of the attempts. But if it's really not making sense to you, wait until I come back and ask me the questions about this stuff, and I'll try to help it make sense. Surface area and lateral surface area for both of these. I'm not going to go crazy on this. The one on the right is a cube. So the total surface area is going to be 24 millimeters because 2 squared is 4, and then we multiply that by all 6 sides of that cube. If we're just doing the lateral surface area, we're going to ignore the top and the bottom. So 2 squared is going to be 4, and we would have 4 of those squares that work their way around it. So that would be 16. So the difference between them you can see. On the one that's number 4 there, that's the pentagonal pyramid, we would find the area of that triangle. So that would be 10 times 12 is 120 divided by 2 is 60. And we're going to multiply that by 5 because there are 5 of those triangles. So 60 times 5 would be 300. And that 300 would be the lateral surface area, just those triangles. If we need the complete surface area, the total surface area, we would also do 1/2 times the apothem times the perimeter. So that's 10 times 5 is 50. And then half of that 50 would be 25. We multiply that by the apothem, which is 4. And 25 times 4 is 100. So we would have an additional 100 to our, 300 that we had. So 400 would be the total surface area on that one. Hopefully that gives you some pretty good guidance. Again, kind of break it down into its component shapes and find the area. That way, if you have questions, remember, save them for me. Make sure you're good to a sub, and we'll see you later.